From years of modifying movements to account for athletes with physical disabilities, we've developed strategies that can be applicable when training an injured athlete in a walking boot or sling. We don't want them to take 4 to 6 weeks off from training entirely, but rather find a way to stay active in spite of their injury. Here are 5 approaches that we'll take with Jack and James over the next month or two. Matching energy systems. With upper body only cross-training modalities, we can't simulate the stress at the foot, ankle, and hip that Jack will experience when returning to basketball, so we'll need to gradually reintroduce running and jumping volume once he is out of the boot. But we can replicate similar energy system demands using the assault bike and ski erg. James can maintain an aerobic base and muscular endurance with steady state bike, reverse sled drags, and split squat holds. Contralateral effective training. Studies have shown that when rehabilitating an injury, training the non-injured limb results in more muscle retention in the injured side. Studies have also shown that 2 weeks of complete immobilization has been shown to decrease strength and work capacity of an individual's lower body. One in particular demonstrated that 6 weeks of retraining led to improvements, but not complete rehabilitation of strength, muscle mass, and capacity. The mechanism isn't entirely understood, but is likely to do with resistance training promoting higher testosterone and growth hormone levels globally. So it is important that we find ways for our athletes to continue to train and strengthen the non-injured limb. Changing stance and loading strategies. Instead of being quick to dismiss certain exercises that Jack would commonly perform in a standing position, we can modify the setup to put him in a seated or tall kneeling posture to comply with his weight-bearing restrictions. We can use modalities like resistance bands for leg extensions and clamshells. For James, we can find unique ways to load exercises like the belt squat and standing hamstring curl, or incorporate different tempos to increase the difficulty of bodyweight or lightly loaded movements. Logistically convenient supersets. Along the same lines as minimizing the number of transfers our athletes have to make in and out of a wheelchair, when an athlete is in a boot or using crutches, we want to reduce the number of times they have to get up and down. We'll superset exercises based on position, exercises where an athlete is laying on their back on a bench, etc., or by loading strategies using resistance bands instead of dumbbells in certain scenarios. Emphasize smaller details. Knowing that neither of the guys can work on the qualities that will be most transferable to basketball yet, jumping, sprinting, and change of direction, this time off will allow us to work on some more minor but still sport-specific physical qualities. We can continue to work on Jack's upper body strength, but also place a greater emphasis on core work. And while it has always been a part of his program, we'll continue to emphasize ankle and knee health for James, with plenty of calf, quad, and hamstring work. While our role as a strength and conditioning facility is not to rehab injuries, we can still create a training program that moves the performance in the right direction. An athlete's identity is often tied to their sport, and being sidelined from competition can be extremely discouraging. Offering an environment where they can continue to train will not only improve their physical, but also their mental health. Many of these strategies are a product of our experience with adaptive fitness, training athletes with mobility impairments, hemiplegic cerebral palsy, and other physical conditions. Being an inclusive facility makes you a stronger coach for all populations.